What's happening, guys? It's your girl Mina. Welcome back to my channel. I don't even know if my audio is working, but I'm just gonna assume that it is, man. You guys know what it is. First and foremost, I have to apologize because I have not streamed in about a week. Just ain't been in the right place with everything that's happening in the world right now. To be honest, I've just not been feeling to stream. But of course, all the news yesterday regarding the takeover, I thought it was only right to do a stream once there's more information available to us. Now, I know it's not some of the stuff that you lot wanted, but again, I like to hear everybody's views. Of course, you guys know what it is. Shout out to everyone in the chat. I'm just gonna go into kind of the little details regarding this takeover or this minority takeover. I don't even think you can call it a takeover. I think it's more so an investment. I think it's a minority investment because at the end of the day, what majority fans or probably all fans have wanted is that the Glazers leave, but it's likely that they will probably be staying. It's 100% certain that they will be staying. Now I'm going to start talking about firstly Sheikh Jassim's bid, which to me I just cannot comprehend how that could not be accepted. Of course, I think the issue at large is probably that the Glazers have wanted to stay. So this is something that's in their own best interest, is to accept the minority investment from Sir Jim Ratcliffe. But for me, from purely just the perspective of running a club, investment, the plan, the idea, etc. I think on paper, you guys know Sheikh Jassim's one looked the best. Of course, I'm going to quickly go into those details regarding that. Because for me, I was just yesterday, I was kind of overwhelmed with all the news that came out. I don't know if you guys felt the same, but I definitely was overwhelmed with a lot of the news. He was willing to, for me, it actually is very intriguing that he was willing, Sheikh Jassim's consortium was willing to pay more than double of what the market valuation is. Now, if you guys don't know, obviously, the market valuation is what, the market values the club at, but, the Glazers value the club at nearly double that. The market values Manchester United's overall price to be around the $3.5 billion mark. The Glazers, though, actually value it at nearly double that. Nearly double that is what they value it at. And that's what they've essentially been saying that they've been holding out for. But I personally feel like they were holding out for just a minority investment that would allow them to stay in. So essentially, they're still going to make money from Sir Jim Ratcliffe's investment of this I think it's 1.3 billion pounds for 25%. They will still make that 1.3 billion. And on top of that, because they remain still with a minority shareholder within the club, they will continue to make money from the club as well until they are ready probably to sell up completely, which I don't think is happening anytime soon. Now, the interesting part for me is that Sir Jim Ratcliffe's involvement in terms of minority investment or minority takeover for 25%, he gets quite, or he's been trying to negotiate to get quite a lot of rights, acquire a lot of rights. For 25%, I would imagine that someone would not have that much say over the way that the club is run, over the sporting project or the sporting idea of the club. But it seems that he and Ineos are looking to be a lot involved, to be involved as much as possible in terms of the sporting aspect. That's what they're essentially paying for this 1.3 billion, is to have control over the sporting idea and the sporting project of the club. Now, my biggest question is this 1.3 billion, how is it being paid for? Is it being paid for with debt? Because you guys know that Ineos, Sir Jim Ratcliffe is obviously one of the richest people in the UK, and his company is a very global company. I think their market value is around $46 billion. Is this money being spent directly from Ineos, directly from Sir Jim Ratcliffe, or is it a loan that they are using that will essentially be put back into the club, similar to how the Glazers brought Manchester United in 2005? I think one thing I will say is that there's a lot of questions. I think there's a lot of questions surrounding this, and I don't think a lot of people can get behind it until we truly have a bit more information about how this takeover, this minority takeover, is going to happen. I'm quickly just going to go into, some questions that I saw on Sky Sports today from Cave. I think that's his name. I think that's how it's pronounced. But essentially, he was asking very similar questions that a lot of other people are asking. He asked, where is this 1.3 billion where is it coming from? Number one, is it being borrowed? If so, who's responsible for paying it back? Because you guys know that the Glazers borrowed 500 million, I think it was, to buy United in 2005, and then it was expected for Manchester United to pay off that debt. The debt was allocated to the club on top of that with interest as well. So we need to know, of course, surround all that information surrounding that. I also need to know, and I think a lot of other fans need to know, what is the plan? Because with Sheikh Jassim's bid, guys, it was near enough $8 billion cash. Actually, let me not say cash, because some of it is the investment, rebuilding the stadium, all of that kind of stuff. But he was willing to pay around $7 billion, which is around, I think it's around 6.4 billion pounds, which is off the valuation that the Glazers had. The Glazers valued the club at £7 billion. Me, mind blown. I don't know how they came to that number, but it is what it is. But they valued the club at around £7 billion. He was willing to pay around £6.3 billion plus the additional investment of around $1.5 billion, which is about 1.1, I think, or 1.2 billion pounds, which included investment in stadium, training facilities, a local area. So, you know, if you guys know, with the Etihad Stadium, they have, Abu Dhabi have spent money in the local neighborhoods building stuff for local residents. So they were willing to do that as well. Instead, obviously, the Glazers have leaned more towards this Sir Jim Ratcliffe one. And you know what? I feel like we need to know, because and Carve actually on Sky was asking some very important questions, because, you know, with the Qatar consortium and Sheikh Jassim, people were concerned about sports washing, and he essentially said, well, you know, it's Jim Ratcliffe's company looking to do something they call greenwashing, which is basically to improve their image of their company using sports, which is essentially what other states do or are accused of doing when they try to purchase a football club. Of course, you guys know he owns a football club in Nice, hasn't really ran that amazingly. So questions have to be asked. And I'd like to hear what everybody, of course, thinks in the chat too. Big up to Kadeem, says, I have a lot of friends that support Nice and they hate Ratcliffe. I'm not surprised. These Glazers are greedy, you know, it says Cabs 100%. I think to turn down a bid of near enough $7 billion cash guaranteed, that's the main part, because Sheikh Jassim was very transparent and his consortium were very transparent in what this money, how this money was going to be paid for. My biggest concern, I have a lot of concerns surrounding Sir Jim Ratcliffe's bid, and I'm calling it a minority investment because I don't think it's a takeover. I think a takeover is complete, like, majority. If you have more than 50%, then that is a takeover, because essentially you have majority rights. But 25% is not near enough for it to be called a takeover. I'll just say it's an investment. He's a new partner in the way that Manchester United will be run. But essentially, I feel like the fact that we don't know what that 1.3 billion that he is investing, or he is buying 25% with that value, with that valuation, we don't know what is made up of. Is it credit? Is it a loan? Is it cash? And I feel like until a lot of fans can kind of get behind, I don't know if fans can get behind it, because like I said, it was Glazers out on, that's it. There's nothing else, no other option. There's not an option for them to stay as minority. I've seen reports that's saying that the end goal is for them to slowly be and gradually be brought out by Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos. If that's the case, how long is that going to take? Is that going to be 20 years? Is that going to be 10 years? Is that going to be 15 years? Because hopefully, this is me being hopeful, but the more successful that Manchester United get, or, you know, on the path to success, is of course the more money that the club will be generating. Now I need to know, as 25% investment holders or shareholders, or whatever you want to call it, does that mean that you are now allowed to take a cut of the dividends? Because before it was just, you know, to the Glazers and the other minority shareholders, but now there's another investor in it. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions surrounding it. Big up to Olumba, says, let's boycott everything, but this fan base will keep buying season tickets. Shout out to Soft, says, big up Mina, big up Sophia. Lil Yo says, Mina, so Eid then. I told you, lot, Eid is cancelled. Eid is cancelled. There's no Eid. I will not be. Eid is cancelled, guys. Don't ever come to me. Eid is actually, I'm going to add it to the banned words in my chat from now on. I don't want to hear anyone talk about Eid. Eid has been ruined. You know, like the Grinch ruined Christmas. My Eid has been ruined. Shout out to Joe, says the Glazers played Qatar. They never planned to sell. If I was Qatar, I would go buy Liverpool and stick it to this club. And I think, guys, this is a big, shout out to Joe for this, because I've seen this discourse and I've seen it happening regarding, you know, a week or two ago, we saw that the consortium, Sheikh Jassim, would look at buying another club in Europe, and apparently they were interested in Inter Milan. I do think if they come back to the UK, they will buy a Premier League club, whether it's Tottenham, even Liverpool, if Liverpool's still up for sale, or if you know they can get their owners to sell up, who were willing to sell earlier in the year. That would be the biggest slap in the face, I think, is the fact that, you know, we look at the way Nice has been run by Sir Jim and his team as a sporting I'm talking about it as a sporting project. We talk about it as a sporting project. We've seen how it's been run. The fact that a lot of fans are not happy with it. The fact that that is a possibility that is how United can turn out, and then seeing another rival club in the Premier League basically having what you could have had. Now, you know what's funny is that Sheikh Jassim taking over Manchester United, I think, I don't think it would have ever been a certainty. In my opinion, it wouldn't have been a certainty that the club would succeed. But I think it would have been the first step in terms of getting the Glazers out, because that has been, I think, the most rotten problem of the club. I think any takeover that happens, and I'm talking in the grand scheme of like 100% takeover, anyone that would come in and buy the club, it's not guaranteed to succeed. Yeah, it's not. Look at Chelsea in terms of their sporting project, their football project. It's been a year and a bit now. They're making progress. Of course, they're making progress on the pitch. Off the pitch, I think their transfer windows were a bit all over the place, just spending a lot of money everywhere. So I think when you have new ownership, 100% ownership, it's not guaranteed that it's going to work. But for Manchester United, I think the reason why a lot of people kind of drifted towards the idea of Sheikh Jassim is because that would have been having the Glazers out of the door, which is the biggest problem, which is the biggest issue in the way that the club is run. But the fact is that the Glazers are staying, whether it's in a less of a capacity of what it was before. They still have a big influence because they've only sold up 25%. They're only selling up 25%. So they still have a big majority of their percentage, i.e. Their shareholds, etc. I don't think, like I said, that Qatar, Sheikh Jassim, etc., it wouldn't have been 100% certain. But the fact is that the Glazers would have been out. And that would have been the most important thing in terms of being able to get the show running, to basically be able to kickstart everything. Shout out Tabislaw says, I'm never getting behind this. I hear it. I totally hear it. Shout out Keegan says, we can't get behind it until the Glazers F off. I think it's kind of it's interesting, I think, to think right now, because Tabislaw here points it out, says 25% is nothing. This is not a takeover at all. And that's why I'm reluctant to call it a takeover. I'm more so leaning to the idea that it's an investment. 1.3 billion, which is actually quite funny because I've actually got some numbers here, which is basically saying that Sir Jim Ratcliffe buying 1.3 billion, spending 1.3 billion for 25% essentially values the club at about 5 point something billion. And the fact is that Sheikh Jassim was willing to pay $1 billion more than that. So I'm not saying that Sir Jim Ratcliffe values the club at that, but basically it's just 1.3 billion multiplied by 4. If he was to buy the entire club, 100%, it would value it at about 5 point something billion. And Sheikh Jassim was willing to pay around 6.4 billion pounds for a club, which is double what is even valued at the market. And you know what, guys? For all this time, I think, you know, this has been a 1-year process so far. I don't even know when the board is expected to vote on it this week. We don't really know when the end is. But I think we're approaching the end of this process. And it's been a 12-month process. The Glazers or their advisors or whoever it is that's been leaking information to the press, it's been big time market manipulation. If there's anyone that's ever studied finance, you studied investment as a module, you guys will know about market manipulation, putting out information that would essentially impact the prices of shares and it's not necessarily true. That is basically, I'm summarizing. I'm very much summarizing it, but that is essentially market manipulation. And I don't know if you guys have seen over the last 12 months how many times information has been fed to the press. It's been fed through that to fans regarding, and you see share prices rising. You see share prices plummeting. Then but again, you see the share prices rising, always after information. Now, if this news wasn't true, especially I think the biggest moment that saw the largest rise in share prices, I think, is when Sheikh Jassim was making his first initial bids. That was when the market valuation or the stock shares, etc., was seeing its biggest rise in price per share. If it was not necessarily true, then it's market manipulation, essentially. Now, the only difference is that Manchester United is listed on the American Stock Exchange and not the UK one. So I don't know the rules regarding that aspect, but the Glazers are doing something fishy here. They're doing something dodgy, in my opinion. I think, in my opinion, they're doing something quite dodgy. Now, what is the next step? Guys, please share with me in the chat what you guys think is the next step in regards to this, because it looks like Sir Jim Ratcliffe has won the race. It's crazy because I remember at the beginning, people were saying a lot of media kind of was riding on the coattail of the fact that Sir Jim Ratcliffe was the favorable one. And a lot of people didn't want to accept it because of our own feelings regarding the fact that, you know, it's a possibility that because Sheikh Jassim's offer is the best for the club, that maybe the Glazers would have accepted it or taken it on board. I even saw in a statement yesterday that they that Sheikh Jassim's consortium reportedly put out, that they kind of hinted at the fact that there wasn't really any other bidders. They basically hinted at the fact that there was only really 2 people interested in the club, and all these other talks about, because we did hear it, we heard a lot about other minority consortiums, etc., interested in it. Essentially, it was just Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Sheikh Jassim that was interested in it. It's interesting, I would say, the least. Paul Mitchell and David Brailsford will come in, but David Brailsford is so hyped. I have no faith in him. He can only cycle in. Of course, both of them is better than Murto, but this club is doomed, says Tabislo. Shout out the Aura Explorer says, thing is, we still don't know what the 25% of is. Is it 25% of Manchester United overall? Is it 25% of the Class B shares owned by the Glazers? Is it 25% as 100% of some of the Glazers shares? We don't know yet. And that's a very valid point, is the fact that we do not know the kind of details surrounding this. All we know is that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is paying 1.3 billion for 25% of Manchester United. Now, the interesting part for me regarding all of this is the fact that it wasn't the fact that Sheikh Jassim's bid was rejected. It's the fact that he withdrew himself from the bidding process. So clearly there's something that has been happening behind closed doors surrounding this that he has not been happy with, whether it's the fact that he's just being led on, or in my opinion, and I said it before, I said it at the beginning of the process when the first bids went in, I said that they were going to try and milk the biggest price out of this, and they were going to try and milk it out of Sheikh Jassim, because really and truly Sir Jim Ratcliffe was never going to pay that £7 billion valuation. But the fact is that Sheikh Jassim bidded close enough to that. He offered close enough to that 7 billion valuation that they had. Now, the fact that Sheikh Jassim withdrew from it, so he wasn't actually rejected, he withdrew. So as a result, by default, Sir Jim Ratcliffe essentially has won it. Essentially by it's not the fact that he was just chosen, he's the last one standing. I understand why Sheikh Jassim would withdraw from it. I understand that, because the fact that he's, you know, a couple months ago he made his final bid, and then we're hearing a few days ago he even upped his price just to kind of bring it all to an end, and that even still was not enough for what the Glazers have wanted. Now, I don't care what anyone says, as it says it in the title of this video, Glazers' greed sees Sheikh Jassim out. That is essentially what has happened. It's not the fact that he was outbidded by Sir Jim Ratcliffe. It's not the fact that Sir Jim Ratcliffe's sporting project was more attractive, because really and truly, the Glazers don't care about your sporting project. They don't care that Sheikh Jassim is willing to pay £1.2 billion into investment. They don't care about that. They don't care about the fact that he's willing to pay off the debt that they've acquired in the club. They don't care about that stuff. All they care about is the money that will go into their pocket. You know what is so it blows my mind, guys. It absolutely blows my mind. The fact that you can come spend 500 million on a loan, buy a club, and possibly walk away with £7 billion at the end of it. That to me is greed. It's pure greed. Let's be honest about the situation here, because like I said, a lot of people I don't think will be able to get behind the idea of Sir Jim Ratcliffe until there's more transparency surrounding, the information about this money that he's spending, whether it's it's going to be directly allocated to Ineos in terms of if it's a loan, whether the loan is going to be allocated to Manchester United. As a result, they'd have to pay interest, etc. Sporting project ideas, transfers, people coming in, bringing in a sporting director, all of that stuff. Until there's more transparency surrounding that from Sir Jim Ratcliffe, I don't think a lot of fans will be able to get behind it, because of the biggest cloud overlooming everything is the fact that the Glazers are staying. Now, I remember I said this a couple months back, and I said I have a feeling the Glazers weren't going anywhere. I said it on United View, and people were like to me, don't be negative, because I just feel like they've been using Sheikh Jassim to kind of get as close as possible, see if he's willing to pay up to that 7 billion. And I'm not gonna lie, a part of me thought he might pay it. A part of me actually thought he might pay it, but clearly that guy has enough pride. He has enough pride to not be taken for an idiot. This club has never been for sale, really and truly, and that's one thing that I agree with. That's one thing I actually agree with. The fact that I don't think the Glazers ever wanted to sell, and if they did sell, I did feel like it would be, minority takeover. I don't even want to call it takeover, because it's not a takeover. It's just an investment. They're paying 25, but they're getting 25% of it. But we don't know what that 25% is. Is it shares? Is it the actual club? Like, we don't know what that 25% allocation actually is. Of course, they're calling it a phased takeover. Yeah, they're calling it a phased takeover, which means it's going to happen in phases, where eventually the goal is for them to take over the 67% shareholding that the Glazers have over the club. Now, this is another one. Is that 25% of the 67% shares that they own? Is it 25% of the entire club? Is it 25% of the shares that are listed publicly on the stock exchange? What is this 25% of it? Now, some people are saying that regardless of the situation, Sheikh Jassim and Sir Jim Ratcliffe were both going to end up overpaying. I think, for me, Manchester United is a club dear to my heart. It's a club I love, and I think it's one of the greatest clubs in the world. But ain't no way it's 7 billion. 7 billion. Ain't no way that it's worth 7 billion. Sir Jim just going to bed with the devil. He sold his soul to support these clowns. I think it's the biggest part is the fact that he's allowed the Glazers to stay in. I don't know how you can get the fans on board and kind of win them over when you've essentially just like it's been said, jumped into bed with the Glazers. I don't know how Sir Jim Ratcliffe thinks he's going to win the fans over. But like I said, when there's more transparency available in terms of, some detailed explanation, what is the plan? Because my biggest problem was with Sir Jim Ratcliffe's first ever statement. I don't know if you lot remember. I think it was like November times when he announced his interest and Sheikh Jassim announced his interest. My biggest concern was the negligence surrounding the women's team and the academy in his statement. He essentially just said he wants to put Manchester United back on the global stage, winning Champions Leagues, etc. No mention of the academy. We were once a great academy. Right now, I think there's a lot of academies that are actually better than Manchester United. Manchester United actually go out and get players, scout players from across Europe, and then bring them over to the academies. There was no mention surrounding the academy. There was no mention surrounding the women's team and how that development is going to happen. And for me, that was the biggest question. So I need some transparency on that. Not saying that I can get behind Sir Jim, because as far as I'm concerned, as long as you've given the Glazers a lifeline, I cannot support that. That's something I cannot support. I could support the club, I can support the players, but really and truly, I cannot support Sir Jim Ratcliffe as a minority owner, because he's given the Glazers a lifeline, allowed them to stay in the club, and on top of that is allowing them to continue to make money from the club that they clearly have absolutely no care for. I think that's quite telling. I think that's telling enough. The reports were that Mr. Ratcliffe is buying the minority and the Glazers stake, right? No, the report is that he's buying 25% of Manchester United. There's no information in regards to what that 25% entails. I'm just looking at a piece right here from Sky Sports News, and it says that initially they wanted to buy the entire Glazers shareholding, which is 67%, which is basically what Sheikh Jassim also wanted to do. But right now, we don't know what this 25% is. We don't know what it entails. It's funny. I'm just reading here. Apparently, this is sources. This is from a source who's been part of the process, and they've said basically what is happening is totally unreal. This is how I used to read in English class. Do you guys remember? I don't know if you guys remember in secondary school, high school, whatever, in English class when you're reading a book with like the entire class, and the teacher will go around and make you read. I used to put on a voice every single time, but this is what the piece says. It says what's happening is totally unreal. The Glazers' valuation is insanely fanciful. Sheikh Jassim offered them almost double the market capitalization, and he was a cash buyer. He was going to clear all the debts. There would be no new debt, and he was going to put in another 1.4 billion pounds for the stadium and the team, and that still wasn't enough for the Glazers. And what we're left with now after a year is someone who's going to overpay for 25% of the club. Then they go on to say, arguably the greatest and most historic football club on the planet. And after a year, there's only one bidder, and he can only stump up enough for 25%. Now, this is someone, guys, close to the situation. So if they're saying that, are they saying essentially that Sir Jim Ratcliffe can only be able to pay for 25%? That's essentially what they're saying, that after a year, there's just one bidder and he can only stump up enough for 25%. In that case, where is all the investment going to come from? Where is, if because I know that he hasn't actually mentioned anything surrounding, the sporting project in terms of a stadium, debt, transfers, all of that. But if they're saying he can only afford to buy 25%, where's everything going to come from? How are you guys going to repair the stadium that has leaks? How are you guys going to, become marketable in terms of in the transfer window? How are you guys going to develop any new additional spaces for the academies, etc.? How are you guys going to hire a sporting director and all these other directors that Manchester United reportedly need in terms of being more influential in the market? If they're essentially saying that Sir Jim Ratcliffe, is only been able to stump up enough for 25% verbatim, guys, this is what it says in the piece, that they're left with one bidder that can only stump up 25%. Where is the money for everything else going to come from? Someone please tell me that. The Glazers have burnt their bridge in the Qatar business market. How do you toy around with a sheikh? I don't think they care about that. I genuinely don't think they care about that. I don't think they care about any of that. The reason I say that is the minority stakeholders were going to sue if the minority stakeholders didn't get a piece. That's true. Exactly. Sir Jim has never been clear on what he wants to do. Didn't mention the women's team nor the academy, as you mentioned. The guy is a sellout. And you know one thing I don't like about it, and I think I've mentioned it in one of my first streams that I did, because you lot know I refused to do any streams about the takeover until it was like cemented news. My biggest annoyance was it with his piece, with his, I guess, his statement that he put out initially was that he said, "Make Manchester great again." I'm sorry, that you guys know what that reminds me of. That gives me Brexit vibes. I'm not gonna lie. I'll be very honest. That gives me Brexit vibes. When during if you live in the UK during the time of Brexit, you guys know what I'm referencing in terms of the type of slogan, "Make Manchester great again." If he had just said something like, "I want to bring Manchester United back to the top of the world, back to being a great club," but he said, "Let's make Manchester great again." He didn't even say that, actually. Sorry, guys. He didn't even say that. He said, "Let's make Manchester again," i.e., because he's a diehard Manchester kid or whatever the hell. I remember now. Let me double check. Let me double check what he said, because I want to say it verbatim. Make Manchester great. Was it "Make Manchester great again"? Sir Jim. What was it? His exact statement. Oh no, they're not showing me any. Let me find his original Sir Jim statement. Sorry guys, I just want to be 100% accurate, yeah? Bring the Manchester back to Man United. Here you go. You go. He said, putting the Manchester back into Manchester United. And I don't like that. I don't like that because I don't know what he's trying to suggest by that. You guys know what it means when I said that. It reminds me of Brexit. That gives me Brexit vibes. It does not sit well with me. You could have easily said, I'd rather even he says make Manchester great again. Because you're basically saying we're bringing Manchester United to being greatness. I would actually rather that than him saying bring the Manchester back to Man United. Is that obviously a sly dig at the Glazers? Of course, they're not from Manchester. It's a sly dig at Sheikh Jassim. Of course, he ain't from Manchester. But I also haven't seen him, Sir Jim, say what his plans were for the city of Manchester that he wants to make it Man United again. It's also, I guess, a dig at City rivals. It's a dig at Manchester City. He's saying bring the Manchester back to Man United in terms of making Man United dominant again in the city. I think that slogan could be taken in many different ways. But I can't lie. That to me that don't sit well with me. The debts that we've got is too much. I'm afraid Man United will be banned from the Premier League because of these debts. Oh my days. I don't think that would happen. Spot on, Mina. The language was a bit sus. The Glazers have taken the joy out of Manchester United. Koala says, Mina, you need to be in the presser when Sir Jim does his interview. Listen, if it was Sheikh Jassim taking over, yeah. Actually, you know what, guys? I actually want to hear what he would like to say regarding his first presser. I would actually like to. I think it's only right to hear him out, although he doesn't deserve it. I'll be honest, he doesn't deserve to be heard out because, as far as I'm concerned, you've given the Glazers a lifeline. You've allowed them to stay. You've been in this run for this takeover stuff for so long. And actually, the article that I was reading, guys, on Sky Sports actually brings up a very valid point. Now, this person, this insider, I wonder who it is. But this insider was basically asking all the questions that we're asking. They said, if you can only afford to buy 25% to start with, who's going to pay for the new stadium? Who's going to fix the leaking roof? Who's going to pay for the new training center and the new players and community projects? Again, same questions that I've been asking on this stream. He said, this person said, United can't even keep up with Brighton these days. Never mind Man City, Liverpool and Arsenal, and don't even think about the likes of Real Madrid and Bayern Munich. And if they go with Ratcliffe, they get another shareholder. How does that help decision-making? Where is the new vision and the new ambition? There is no vision, there is no passion, there is no aggression. But they're basically saying, how does it help with this decision-making? Where is the new vision? Where is the ambition? Where is the new engagement with the fans? The same owners will be in place. And what guarantee is that the Glazers will sell more of their shares in the future? Because essentially, it's been said that this is I don't know what's the word. It's a takeover progress, i.e., 25% is taken now. They buy 25%, and as time goes on, they want to take over more and more and more until they get to a point that they are majority owners, i.e., Ineos and Sir Jim Ratcliffe own the club and the Glazers don't. Now, where is the guarantee that the Glazers are even going to sell up in the future? Where is the guarantee that if Manchester United starts to perform better on the pitch, they become more marketable, they become more profitable? Where is the guarantee that the Glazers would even want to walk away from that kind of money? Because at the end of the day, these lot are walking away with 1.3 billion right now for 25%, split amongst their 4, 5, 6 siblings, whatever. They will still be getting their dividends. I think they will still be probably getting their dividends. The more profitable Manchester United become, the more dividends they'll be able to take. So where is the guarantee that the Glazers will even end up selling more than that? More than this 25% that they've already sold. Where is that guarantee? There is no guarantee. And that's one of the many questions I think surrounding this. My biggest frustration, and I've said it again, I've said it time and time again, is the fact that I can't get behind this because the Glazers are still there. If the Glazers are still involved, then the root problem is still there, guys. It's basically like, I don't know. It's like, you know, when you've got bare holes in your wall and you literally just plaster over a few of them, you just cover it up a little bit. But if you poke it like this, the hole is still there. That is what the issue is. That was a crap comparison. But you guys know what I'm trying to get at. Mina, I blame Marcel. Months ago, he was in acceptance that Sir Jim would take over. 100%. Not that I blame Marcel, but also, guys, I've been on that kind of bandwagon as well. I felt like if Sheikh Jassim's bid initially, because you know what, it's been like 3-4 bids every time he's saying this is my last bid, this is my final bid. The bids were good on paper. I thought any sane person would accept it, or anybody that truly wants to walk away from the club and just wants their money and wants to dip out, they would accept it. But I did feel like there was an issue at large, or there was an underlining. I would say there was an like I got the word in my language, but I can't say it in English. But basically, there was deception. There was bad deception, i.e., no matter what Sheikh Jassim bidded, I didn't think the Glazers would accept it, because I also felt like the Glazers did not want to sell. I felt like they just put it on the market or issued that statement after the whole Ronaldo thing, everything, just to kind of keep the fans quiet and also take some pressure off them. Because at that time, when they did decide that they were going to sell the club, guys, November last year, when that statement was put out at like 10 p.m. in the night, that the Glazers were looking for, what was it? What did they say? Investment or complete takeover. The fact that they didn't say they were only looking to fully sell up, I think, was telling enough. I don't blame Marcel, but I don't also blame him for thinking, kind of being in acceptance that Sir Jim would have taken over, because essentially, if just from a sporting perspective, from what was put on the table between the two bidders, we know that Sheikh Jassim's one was kind of more appealing as a sporting and football project. And the fact that they kept overlooking it, I think, kind of says it enough. I think it kind of said it enough. We have to bank on the Glazers to sell or make actual changes to the club. 100%. I think the thing is, guys, no matter what, and I don't know if you lot, please let me know if you share the same sentiment. I don't think anything's going to change as long as the Glazers are there. And to them, this club has always been a money-making machine. As long as the Glazers are there, I don't care if Sir Jim is able to take over 25% and he has full control over the sporting side. I don't care. The point is the fact that when it comes to making decisions, when it comes to making key decisions, whether it's to sell players, whether it's to buy players, whatever it is, the Glazers will essentially have a say in it. The Glazers will have a say in it. Right now, this is, guys, just a very hypothetical situation. But if Manchester United wanted to go out and buy Kylian Mbappe, again, guys, hypothetical, so please don't take it out of context. But if Manchester United wanted to go out and buy Kylian Mbappe, and PSG said 200 million, that's the price tag, and they've already agreed personal terms, and he wanted to come to Manchester United, at the end of the day, the most senior people have to approve that transfer. Who is those most senior people? Who still has majority voting rights? It's the Glazers. So the Glazers still have a say. They could turn around and be like, actually, no, that 200 million, we could keep it, try and make a profit at the end of the year so that our dividends are higher. They still get to make those decisions. And that's why I said a lot of transparency and information is needed regarding this minority takeover from Sir Jim Ratcliffe. I need to know, i.e., this 25%, what rights does he have? What value does it have to him? What decisions can he make? Is he just another person in the circle of decision making? Is he just going to be another person in that circle of decision making? Or does he get an influential say over stuff? I need to know that. And I think a lot of other fans need to know that. And I actually saw a statement from Must, the Man United Sports Trust, that said that until there's more information surrounding this, they cannot kind of endorse it. They cannot support it, because really and truly, all we've been told is how much he's paying, the percentage he's getting, and I'm hearing little glimpses that he's going to get involvement in terms of the sporting operations of the club, the direction that the club is heading in sporting wise. This guy ran Nice into the ground. How the hell can we expect him to have sporting control over Manchester United? I just don't get it. The bank we took the loan from is going to seize the club and then sell it to the highest bidder. I hear that. I hear that. Glazers own more than 50%. There is no change. And the funny thing is, I think they still, this is why I'm saying that I need to know what this 25% entails. Is this 25% of the 67% that the Glazers own? Because in that case, if my maths is correct, the Glazers will still have 42%, which is still a majority. That is still a majority of, so that means they would still have a majority say in what goes, i.e. voting rights, etc. I need to know these questions. I need to know these answers. Mina, if you guys need to stop calling him that. If Mr. Ratcliffe does take over sporting operations, then Murto is clearly out of here. Guys, another part. If that is the case, what does that mean for Ten Hag if there's new owners coming in? Because obviously new owners will come in with their own vision of the club. Does that mean that they will get behind Ten Hag? Does that mean it will be the end of the road for Ten Hag? I must be one of the only people that just doesn't know. I don't know what to think of this entire situation, because again, I would have had these same question, guys, if Sheikh Jassim had won, or Sheikh Jassim had, his bid had been accepted. I would have had these same questions if he was coming in. But the thing is, when it comes to the stuff surrounding the sporting projects, he's been quite clear in his statement. But I would have still questioned, what does that mean for Ten Hag if there's new owners coming in? Are they going to come in with their own vision? Are they going to come in with their own idea of wanting, wanting to play a style of football, a certain type of manager, etc.? Was Sheikh Jassim going to come in and say, oh, I want Zidane? Is Sir Jim going to come in and say, oh, I want XYZ? These questions would have been applicable to any side. So I hope people don't feel like I'm siding with one, because I told you at the beginning, way back, I said, whatever's best for the club is the owner I will get behind. It's as simple as that. And that's why I'm saying the whole Sir Jim Ratcliffe thing is very difficult for me to get behind, just because he doesn't cover all the bases. He doesn't really cover all the bases. But big up to everyone in the chat, man. If you're new here, if you've just stopped by, be sure to hit the like button. You guys know what it is. To be fair, Mina, Nice are currently second, so let's see how they do. That's true. They are second. But again, how much involvement does he have in Nice? That first trip at Old Trafford is going to be jokes. I don't see Ratcliffe getting a say in anything. And even if he suggests changes, why would the Glazers listen? They haven't for 18 years. Big up to Show. That's a very valid point. I think I touched on it earlier on regarding the fact that 25% is nothing. 25% is nothing. Who do you guys think Sheikh Jassim would go and buy next? After being turned down, do you think he would go and buy Manchester United? Buy Liverpool, sorry, because if he was truly we get onto Sir Jim Ratcliffe for trying to buy other clubs, having a season ticket with Chelsea, etc. So if he was to go and buy Liverpool, then would that question the 9-2 Foundation and whether he is truly the Manchester United fan that his PR publicist claimed that he was when this whole process began? I do see him going to buy another club. I can see him buying either a European big dog or a Premier League type, maybe like West Ham, maybe Brighton, maybe one of them kind of clubs, or it would have to be a big club in Europe. I don't know about Liverpool. I don't know. I don't see it. Getting rid of the manager before certain players is criminal. That's true. That's absolutely criminal. How do you mess up a club that's called Nice? That should tell us all we need to know. Big up to Koala for that. That's a great pun. That's a top pun. Time will tell. We still got to back our team and Eric Ten Hag. And one thing I hope is that this is just kind of I hope this kind of settles everything, kind of settles the boat, because the biggest distraction, I think, in Manchester United sometimes when it comes to the players, I think, and when it comes to the team, sorry, I think the biggest distraction is always off the pitch stuff. And I feel like, and I'm not saying that the way that we've been performing is because of this takeover stuff, but I just hope that closing this door on the takeover news will kind of have one less distraction off the pitch to focus, to focus on. And players, the manager, etc. because obviously I think Ten Hag has been asked about it before in press conferences. I know Mark Skinner has at the Manchester United women's team. They've been asked about how it impacts them, and they just try not to talk about it, but I know that it does impact them. The uncertainty of what is going to be the sporting project for the next couple years or the next 10 years, when there's not much certainty surrounding that and everything's kind of up in the air. I can imagine how a lot of decisions can't be made. Bear in mind, the summer transfer window, we were told that Man United had that very tight budget because of financial problems and because of the takeover stuff. So I'm hoping by the next summer transfer window, we'd be able to kind of look past this and fully be invested in the transfer window. Because I'm not gonna lie, guys, I'll be very honest. If next summer comes and we're still told that we've got a tight budget, then what? Then what happens? If we're told that we still have a tight budget and the finances are not really financing, then what happens? What was the point on having a minority takeover? Sir Jim will just look like a fool. The Glazers always look like a fool. And whatever, plan that they had is going to go to shits. Excuse my language. Mina, do you trust Ten Hag? Absolutely. I trust Ten Hag. I do think he lies sometimes. I do think Ten Hag lies sometimes. There's so much examples that we can give of him lying or saying one thing and doing another. But in terms of as a manager, I 100% trust him. I feel like sometimes I do feel like he's a bit, stubborn in his decision making. He's a bit slow with his decision making when it comes to substitutions and etc. But I trust him, and I trust that. Let me put this comment back here. And I trust that if he has people around him that believe in him and do what is necessary to kind of give him what he needs to complete his vision, then I think he would do well. That's literally it. I don't think he's like Jose Mourinho can take certain types of situations and make something out of it. Because Jose Mourinho is that kind of manager. And I think Erik Ten Hag is the kind of manager, especially what he's done thus far at Manchester United. He's shown us that he can take certain situations and achieve stuff with it. But if you want to go to the next level, I think he needs the support. I think he needs a lot of support in terms of financially. The guy needs scouts. I don't want him to be responsible for bringing in the players that he wants. I want scouts to go and do their jobs and bring in players that they feel fits the manager's system. I don't want him responsible for talent ID. I don't want that, because he shot us in the foot a few times. And that might not be his stronghold. I think for him, when it comes to his talent ID, I think he's going with what he knows because it's the easier route. Whereas when you have scouts that are good at their job and able to do what they're meant to do, that will take that weight off your shoulder. So I genuinely feel like, just don't let him do scouting. Don't let him do scouting. I want people to come and bring players to the table and be like, oh, these are the players that we suggest to you. Make your pick. Here's the stats. Here's the analysis. Here's all the data, etc. And let him make a decision from that. I don't want him to be coming and saying, this is the players that I want. Nah. I don't want that. I don't trust Ten Hag as much as I did when he first came. Damn. Mainly because of his change from possession football to transition football all of a sudden, but still trust him enough. I agree with that. I don't trust the fact that he easily abandons his style of play. But is that more so to do with the manager, or is that more so to do with the players? But then again, a lot of the players are his players. In this starting 11, some of the players are his players that he's brought in the last, however many transfer windows he's been here. It's players that he's brought in. So if he's abandoning his style of play because the players can't execute it, then that's more so, back to my point about talent ID, that's more so a question about the manager's talent ID and the players that he's brought in. Because ideally, or essentially, why are you bringing in players that can't do the task that you want to do? Or why are you bringing in players, oh, I can change him. Why are you bringing in a player that can't play your style of football and then thinking that you can change him into playing the way that you want to play? And they are showing you time and time again that they can't play like that. That's not their stronghold. That's not the way that they play. So I agree with Sho to an extent regarding this. I do agree that he abandons his style of football quite quickly sometimes. And I get it last season because it was his first season. But you've had now another summer transfer window where you've been able to bring in people. It's kind of questionable. I want a window where Erik Ten Hag doesn't get players associated with him. It's always like the players got a history of, they got some Ten Hag history somewhere in there. It always seems to be the case. I think a manager with a hairline is What the hell? Come on, Koala. I think a manager with a hairline is easier to trust. For a bold manager to make it, they need to have a proven record or work twice as hard to prove themselves. Come on, man. Justice for bold people. Just I stand with the likes of KG, Eric Ten Hag, all these Flex. You guys didn't hear it from me, but Flex is bold. But I stand with bold people. I don't think it has anything to do with the lack of hair on his head. Ten Hag should only focus on the coaching and managing the squad in general. Leave the scouting for someone else. 100%. I think if he's able to do his job and just focus solely on his job. But come on, guys. I do sympathize with Ten Hag sometimes as well, because he's kind of been forced to be a mediator, or he's being forced to kind of be like a disciplining people. He's been forced to do so much stuff. He's been forced to do so much stuff outside of the just do football. He's had to deal with a bunch of other issues off the pitch. So I kind of understand in that instance. But you know what? The cycle, the life cycle of managers at Manchester United ain't that long. You guys know the life cycle of just managers in general in football, when it comes to once fans turn on you, that cycle is not that long. So I said this before. I think every stream before I do a match day, every stream, I always say Ten Hag needs to turn this around ASAP. Because a lot of people are patient. I'm patient. But I know a lot of other fans that aren't. I know fans that are calling for him to be sacked. I genuinely know fans talking about him getting sacked. Did he easily abandon his style of play, or is he stubborn? Because it can't be both. He's not been able to move on the players who can't play his style to bring in those who can. That's true. That is true. He hasn't done that. But then again, guys, let me ask you guys a question. Based on what we've seen over the last year and a bit, what is Ten Hag's style of football at Manchester United? Please don't talk to me about Ajax. Please don't, because we've had this debate many times on United View, and I always say, don't talk to me about Ajax. I want to talk about him at Manchester United. I want to talk about his time at Manchester United, and I want to talk about the Manchester United style of football. Yeah, because Sir Alex Ferguson had an identity. Eventually, over his course of however many years he was at the club, he had a way. Even when we had people like Oberton and that playing, we had an identity of the way that Sir Alex Ferguson liked to play. At Manchester United, can we say that we've seen that under Ten Hag for maybe 3 games? Because I don't think we have. I've seen in games where there's glimpses of, this triangle stuff and this pass and move and switch to play. I've seen instances of that. I can recall times that we've actually scored in those manners, but we haven't seen it really so on a consistent style, on a consistent basis. And, we can go back to the topic of that Oral Explorer here mentions here regarding about the players who can't play his style, because there's some players that I think continue to play in the team that are not Ten Hag's type of players, genuinely. And I said this last season. I remember I got butchered. Bro, KG was so mad at me when I said one of the players that I said I can't see that person playing in a Ten Hag style. Based on the style of football that Ten Hag likes to play, I said I can't see that person being here any much longer if Ten Hag truly wants to succeed at Manchester United. And I remember KG wasn't happy with me. But my point still stands. I don't even have to name the player because I think a lot of you guys know it. I think a lot of you guys kind of know who I'm referencing. But I think there's quite a few players here that cannot play the style that Ten Hag wants to. And it's funny because some of these players are his own players. Style of play is simple. We pass the ball to Bruno. He spams balls to Rashford. Then Rashford should take on 5 players and score. That's true. Based on Koala's comments, no East African manager is coming to mind. I can honestly, guys, I could never see an East African manager being at Manchester United. I could never see it. Like head coach, I couldn't see it. Maybe assistant manager, but no, it's not so much head coach. Talking about hair, Onana needs to trim that high top, looking like an absolute clowning goal. How are you guys talking about hairstyles impacting players? How are you guys talking about hairstyles? That's so jokes. In Manchester, we have a saying: if you have hair, shave it. Lil Yo-Yo says very little difference to Ole. Honestly, main difference is we're trying to play higher up the pitch, and I think we've got the players to do that. I said it's funny to think that next summer transfer window I think Man United need to be in the market for a right winger. I'm not gonna lie, I would have even liked if we brought Diaby this summer. I remember I was so upset when he was going to Villa, but I was happy that he was coming to the Premier League. But I would have liked Diaby to come to Manchester United. I think next summer we will be back in the market for a right winger. I don't think Anthony's the answer to the right-hand side. I don't. I think defensively he's a great attribute in terms of support to his fullback, and he has a work rate that kind of aligns with, you know, the right back and the back line, etc. And it helps attacking purely from an attacking basis going forward, etc. I don't think Anthony is the answer to the right hand side. So I think that we will go into the market next summer, buy a right winger. I think we need to buy another centre back. I think we need to buy maybe 2 centre backs. I think we need to buy a central midfielder. I think Casemiro is done in terms of next summer. I can't see him still being at Manchester. I know he even picked up an injury not on international break, but I think we need to buy another midfielder. So it'd be very interesting in terms of how Ten Hag's coaching staff or scouting staff, whatever, how they kind of manage to find players that align with the way that the manager wants to play. Because I saw that Højlund was not Ten Hag's choice. Kane was obviously his main choice. Højlund was the choice of the data analysts and the scouts, because based on the data that they analyzed, and apparently they analyzed kind of thousands of data regarding his time at Atlanta from his I think it was like 17 to now. They analyzed his data from club and country, and they said that Højlund was the better fit for Ten Hag. And obviously they went with it in the end. I don't know if it was more to do so with money as well. The fact that Kane was going for 100 million plus. We still played a big price for Højlund, but so far I can't lie, I'm kind of excited to see what he does, not just this season, but for the rest of his time at Manchester United. I think as long as he continues to grow the way that he's been growing, I mean, our top goal scorer in Champions League. I think he's the overall top goal scorer in Champions League. But he's our top goal scorer in Champions League, and he scored a great goal in that. I don't even want to talk about it, but that game against Fenerbahce. But again, Højlund is an example of someone that the scouting staff done their job. They went and signed someone. They made the manager sign someone that they felt was the right fit for him. So if that happens again next summer for the players that we go on to sign, I will give more credit to the scouting staff. But that ain't gonna happen. That is not gonna happen. I'm done supporting. I'm done. Supported from 1964. This club is finished. Fergie Rock of Gibraltar, hold your head in shame. Y'all heard what the man said. Big up to Nuru, says, I will be Man United's managers in 10 years and I'm from East Africa, Ethiopia. If you're bold, Koala will not support you. The last winger we had that had medium high. How are you using FIFA? EA FC 24 references? That is so funny. The last winger we had medium high attacking defensive was Valencia, and he ended up at right back at the end of his career. That's true. You think the list of wingers that have just, you know, Ashley Young joined Manchester United as a winger, left Manchester United as a fullback. I saw someone saying, I think it was Cam saying that Palestri should be a right wing back. So that's a solid point. Mina, how, on the side note, how close are you to monetization? I've got about 100 watch hours left, which will, I don't know how long that will take, but one thing I will say is that I'm sorry for not streaming throughout the entire week. I said it at the beginning of the stream. I haven't really been in the right mental space to stream. If I'm being honest, there's just too much happening in the world. And I just ain't been in the mood to stream. Like, I know United Women had a game today. I didn't stream that. I didn't do Friday Night Lights on Friday. I haven't done any gaming streams or anything. So I hope you lot can understand. Sometimes it takes a toll on people, innit? So I just was not in the mood to stream. But we're close to monetization and memberships are coming. I got the emojis. I got so many emojis ready, guys. You guys are, if you become a member of the channel, yeah. Oh, it was Galatasaray we played. Oh, damn, my bad. Oh, my bad. Sorry, guys. It was Galatasaray that we played. It was Galatasaray, not Fenerbahce. Why did I say Fenerbahce? Why the hell did I say Fenerbahce? I don't know. But big up to everyone, of course, man. You lot know what it is. In 2 hours' time, we'll be live on United View as well. And you can hear me go on and for another hour about this takeover stuff. I don't know, actually. I don't know what the topics are over there. On a side note, big up Afghanistan, who have just produced one of the all-time upsets in cricket World Cup history by beating England. I don't really know much about cricket. I'm not going to lie. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know much about cricket. Of course, I see it every time I turn on Sky. It's on when I go on social media. I see people talking about it. I don't understand cricket because I turned on the TV today and it said like 42-2. So I was like, wow, is that team winning 42-2? Like, it don't make sense. But big up to Afghanistan for causing a big upset in the cricket World Cup. Big up to them, of course. Højlund is mediocre, like most of Eric's signings. Do you guys agree? Big up to We Deserve Better. Like I said, people are always welcome to their opinions. Like here, it's good vibes as long as everyone's respectful. We Deserve Better says Højlund is mediocre, like most of Eric's signings. I think it's kind of difficult to kind of label Højlund as mediocre when really and truly, I don't think we've seen enough of him. I don't think we've seen enough of him to have to call him mediocre, because I'm not gonna lie, there's other Ten Hag signings I could call mediocre. I'll be very honest. There's more. There's other players that I could say mediocre. I know some of you guys would say Mason Mount is mediocre. I know for sure, but I feel like Rasmus Højlund has definitely not been given that. Rasmus Højlund is, like I said, guys, and I said this at the beginning of the season. Anyone we signed this summer, I said I was going to give them the season before I kind of say whether they are crap or not. Of course, some of you guys said that you lot don't need time to know whether these players are crap. But I said, until I see them for a year in the Manchester United shirt and getting regular opportunities, then I would have an opinion on them. And the same is for me applicable to Højlund, Onana, Mason Mount. I know a lot of you lot don't want to hear it. Mason Mount as well. I'll give him that opportunity kind of to see the season out. But I don't think, out of all the signings that Ten Hag has made at Manchester United, who did we sign last? Malacia, to me, guys, yeah, is nobody questioning where Malacia is. Like, is nobody questioning what has happened to him? The guy just picked up a knock at the beginning of pre-season and we've never heard anything again. And obviously, Ten Hag doesn't give away enough information in press conferences. But nobody is questioning where the hell is Tyrell Malacia and what the hell has happened to him. Excuse my language, sorry. But I'm thinking, because I'm just thinking about all the Ten Hag signings. Obviously, there's Christian Eriksen, there's Anthony, Casemiro, which some people wouldn't say is a Ten Hag signing, but obviously he was brought in the summer of Ten Hag. Casemiro is another one. Amrabat, Johnny Evans, Mason Mount, Andre Onana, Rasmus Højlund. We could talk about Sabitzer and Weghorst and their man there that are gone. But I think it's kind of harsh to say that Højlund is mediocre. But of course, you don't know, man. Everyone's welcome to their opinion here. So I'm glad that topic can kind of open up a discussion. Oh yeah, and Martinez, Alessandro Martinez. I played Malacia on eFootball server or some of his burners. So what? He's playing. He's out there gaming as well as Sancho. I like Højlund a lot, actually. Just feel sorry for him. He ain't gonna get service. I feel bad for him because the service part is a good point, but there's times where I don't know if you lot see it, where United are forcing balls into the box, forcing crosses in, and more time it's like 5-6 opposition players in the box, and it's just Højlund. The only time that there's multiple United players in the box, especially in the last couple games that I've watched, the only time there's like multiple Man United players is when someone hits the byline and tries to do, that cut back across goal. That's when Mount, Bruno, Rashford, etc. are swarming the box, and Højlund is there. But when they're just crossing the ball in non-stop, I swear it's Højlund is fighting two centre-backs, then there's the two full-backs on either side, and then there's a midfielder somewhere there. So it's essentially, and the goalkeeper. So there's 6 players versus Højlund, which I feel bad for him because I feel like it's just a cross and kind of hope that he gets onto it. That's what they do a lot of the time. Højlund has a high ceiling, but he ain't there now, of course. Give him time. I think it's just about patience. But also, guys, I'm not going to lie, I attribute that same patience to other players in the team. Let's talk about Andre Onana because he's been a hot topic. Apparently, coaching staff at Manchester United, goalkeeper coaching staff has been working with him more so with his wrist strength, apparently. and also his movement when he's on his line, because he is sometimes a bit slow to react or he hesitates. So they've been working with him on that kind of stuff. Again, he's another player that I'm just going to be patient with. And obviously I feel like I've said this in the past before, when you're a goalkeeper and you make mistakes, when you are a goalkeeper and you make mistakes, those mistakes are felt a lot more than if you're like a midfielder that gives the ball away and then, you know, the opposition's possession doesn't really lead to anything. Whereas if you're a goalkeeper and you make a mistake, that's a goal. You've basically essentially handed them a goal. So I think that's why people are a lot more critical of Andre Onana, because when you're a goalkeeper, you can't make mistakes. You cannot make mistakes at all. And I just think with, you know, a lot of the signings this summer, Andre Onana, Rasmus Højlund, Mason Mount, I feel like what's that thing, guys? What's that thing that you look through it like this? Microscope. No, it's a microscope. Microscope is the circle thing that you look at. But the microscope is on them. I was meant to say microscope, not telescope. I think telescope is that thing that's like that. But the signings that we've signed this summer, I think there's a microscope on them a lot more than the signings that we brought last summer. I feel like they are under the microscope or they are under the telescope, whichever one. They can be under both. I don't care. But they're under the microscope a lot more because of the way that the season has started out for us. Mina, Aaron Wan-Bissaka got a successful cross in and Varane scored. So are you saying that the deliveries are the problem? Are you saying that is because I'm just saying that they're just whipping in balls non-stop for no point when there's one player in the box? So bring back Aaron Wan-Bissaka, man. I don't think, guys, I got strong feelings about Diogo Dalot. I got strong feelings about him. Who has worse service? Højlund waiting for a cross or Mina that one time Evan, the cable wasn't connected. That day I was fighting for my life. Don't remind me. I was fighting for my life. We need to give Højlund a sword and a shield. Brother is fighting for his life on the pitch with the balls that we give him. They literally hit the ball to him and just tell him, fetch. We will build Højlund into a good striker and he will leave just as he starts to peak. It's a shame. His contract is till 2029. He ain't going nowhere. His contract is till what, 2029? He ain't going anywhere. That's crazy to write Højlund off already. He's a young striker learning his trade. Need to get behind him, not call him mediocre. Crazy opinions. You guys know what it is, man. Everyone here, guys, please be respectful about opinions. I love to hear everyone's opinions. Just be respectful to each other. No matter how wild your opinions are, because you don't know, some people like Koala in the chat has crazy opinions. It's got wild opinions. Players we currently need to be patient with. Onana, Dalot, Maguire, Martinez, Shaw, Casemiro, Mount, Eriksen, Rashford, Højlund, Sancho, Anthony. 7 are Ten Hag signings. I disagree with this list. I don't think we need to be patient with Dalot. I don't think we need. I think that Dalot has shown us time and time again what kind of player he is. I think Dalot is a backup option. If I'm being very honest, I don't think he's a starter. I think he's a backup option. And I also don't think Wan-Bissaka is the answer. But defensively, I would always rather have Wan-Bissaka than Diogo Dalot. That is a given. That is always a given. I would rather have Wan-Bissaka, over Diogo Dalot defensively. However, if we're being honest and we're talking about this modern day football that we always talk about, I need someone that can get forward. Now, whether Wan-Bissaka can put that in his locker, the way he's been working on it, that's a different thing. But I don't think Dalot should be in this list because I'm not patient with. I don't think we need to be patient with him. I think we know what we get with Dalot. Maguire, again, another one. I don't think we need to be patient with him. I think we know what we get with him. I don't think he should be on that list. Lisandro Martinez. Why do we need to be patient with him? The only issue he has right now is his injury. I think that injury last season has really impacted him. And I said it in preseason. I remember I said it in the first few games of the season. I felt like we were seeing a different Lisandro Martinez from last season. And maybe this injury that he went off with at the end of last season is actually a bigger issue to what we thought it was. Casemiro, we don't need to be patient with him. We know what we're getting with Casemiro. Mason Mount, okay, I'll say that. He's only been here for a few months. Christian Eriksen, I don't think we need to be patient with him. Another player, we know what we're getting with him. We know that we are getting someone that keeps the ball ticking. We know that we're getting someone that can progress the ball forward and get the attack going, pinpoint passes, But we also know the defensive stuff that he lacks. We know that his legs don't really work like that when it comes to tracking back. We know that we concede. There's multiple goals we've conceded where he is at fault for it. So I don't think Eriksen is someone we need to be patient with. Marcus Rashford now is I think that's where opinions start to be divided about being patient with him. Rasmus Højlund, 100% be patient with him. Jadon Sancho, again, similar to Rashford, I think Jadon Sancho is one that divides the fan base as well, especially with what has played out over the last 2 months. All this drama started, guys, in the last international break. We're in another international break, and it's still ongoing. Anthony, I'm not so sure about being patient with him. I think the only players, in my opinion, when we use the term patience, i.e., I think it's just wait to see what they evolve into. I would say that it's the players that we brought this summer, because we can't judge them on 2.5 months. We can't judge. I think it would be unfair of me to judge them on 2.5 months. And I think that if we're being just, what's the word? Judges, because that's essentially what we're being judges. We should be just and we should be kind of neutral. I think it's only right to be patient with players that have just come in, or patient with players that haven't played since they've come in, because really and truly they ain't got the opportunity. That's why people are patient with the likes of Pellistri, etc. This is no longer Man United, it's Man Divided. Oh, that's a good one. Big up to Alumba for that. That is funny. That is funny. When it comes to Sir Dr. MBE, I prefer not to speak. Big up to Ed. I think Rashford is probably one of the players that probably divides the fan base the most out of all the players that we talk about. I think it's Rashford and Bruno divides the fan base like no other player. Everyone I have conversation with, whether it's United fans, in my household, football's always a topic of discussion when we go out for like family gatherings, family dinners. Everyone in my family, they're big football fans. Majority are. There's United fans, but there's also like Liverpool, Chelsea, Spurs, very random, etc. And we always talk about Marcus Rashford. And I realized that a lot of opposition fans probably rate Rashford more than Man United fans. Man United fans, I feel like I said before, they are very divided on Marcus Rashford. I am too. I can't lie. I go from 1 minute I got a cape on and I'm superhero for him and I'm defending him. Next, then afterwards, I'm like, actually, no, bun this guy. He has me divided. Me, myself, and I. He's got me divided. He's got the fan base divided as well. And I think that's an interesting one. Let's actually wrap it up with this one, because we deserve better here. Says Sancho would ball at Barcelona. What club would you guys see Jadon Sancho going to if he leaves Manchester United? Because really and truly, I think his time at United is done. I think his time at United is done. I don't see him coming back into this team, whether it's starting lineup or anything. I don't see it happening. But again, I don't know where he would fit. I don't know what club he would fit into. And guys, this is just a hypothetical. I don't see him playing in the Premier League. I feel like with this whole situation, I think he might have burnt any opportunity to go to big clubs, because they might look at this situation and judge him based on this situation. Of course, you talk about his time at Borussia Dortmund, and even when he was playing at England national team, when he was like at that high level. But I think over the last year or two, he's not really been a great attribute in terms of being able to, like, as a club, being able to offload him. So if he was to go to another team this summer, because remember he was linked to Spurs in the summer before they actually signed Maddison. I remember him being linked and United reportedly looking for around 45 million. When they wanted to offload him this season towards the end of the transfer window, it was only really Saudi clubs looking at him. Actually, when it was the end of the English transfer window, but the Saudi transfer window was still open, it was only really Saudi clubs looking for him. I remember when he joined Manchester United, do you know how many Sancho shirts I have? I thought he was going to be that guy. I really thought he was going to be that guy. And it looks like he's just going to be one of them other players where we just say, oh, look how his time at United turned out. But Would he be ball out at Barcelona? I don't even think Barcelona need him when they got the likes of Gavi, Pedri, etc. He might play well with them, possession-based, possession-dominant team. He could fit in there. I think he would benefit of going to a team like Bayer Leverkusen under Xavi. Not Xavi, sorry, under Xabi Alonso. I think he would benefit going to a team like Bayer Leverkusen. I think he would benefit going to a team that doesn't have a big spotlight on them, where they are still able to perform at a competitive level. And this is not me throwing shade at Borussia Dortmund, but let's be honest, guys. A lot of people don't watch Borussia Dortmund games. I don't know many people that do, unless it's Champions League or it's a big German fixture. A team that he wouldn't require for him every game where it's on TV, it's a televised game, it's a big spotlight. I think he would do well at them kind of teams. And that's why I don't think I wouldn't say the likes of AC Milan I'll say like a team like Marseille. Although French fans are, the French fans don't mess about. Yeah, they don't mess about. They will probably come onto the pitch and drag you off the pitch if you're playing crap. But a team like Marseille, a team like Bayer Leverkusen, even a team like RB Leipzig, I think I'm not saying that's his level, but I'm saying more so that's what would work for him. Mina, Sancho will do well at Ipswich. You guys don't rate him. I'm seeing you lot saying, someone said Salford, someone said Hearts FC, he would be a baller at Luton. You lot don't rate him. You lot actually don't rate Sancho. Leo Yo says Sancho would ball out at a possession-based team, wherever that would be. I agree. He should go Birmingham. I'm sure Tom Brady would love it. You guys actually do not you guys actually don't rate him. You guys do not rate him at all. No player will excel at United. The club is dead, says Gingerbish 23. Big up Kenny says, big up Mina. I'm glad that I have with Nest Man United winning every major honours in the past. You know what, guys? I was actually talking about this with one of my friends, and I was saying that so I've got nephews who I'm trying to get them into football, and they're into football and everything. I get them into football. They like the game, etc., watch matches. And recently, one of my nephews said to me that he doesn't want to support Manchester United anymore, and he wants to support Barcelona. And I was a bit curious. So I said to him, why is that? And he said, well, Barcelona's good in FIFA. I said, okay. He's not that young. My nephew's very young, by the way. And he also said, Manchester United are always losing. He was like, every time I watch a game with you, they are losing. And I realized I grew up in the era when Manchester United were the greatest team ever. Yeah. These kids now are growing up in an era where Manchester United is mediocre. And I'm really glad I grew up in that era, because at least I have them memories to hold on to, because I witnessed it. I saw it. I was able to watch it live. Whereas some of my nephews who have been supporting Manchester United for the last 7-8 years, all they've seen is mediocre. And I felt bad. Of course, I said to my nephew that, you can follow Man United, and of course you can follow other clubs. But I said, as long as you don't come to me and say to me, I want to support Manchester City, because he also said to me he liked Haaland in the game. Haaland is very good in FIFA. And I said to him, well, don't ever come to me and say you want to support Manchester City, because at that point, that's when I'd lose it. I'd lose it. But it made me think about the fact that I grew up in the 2000s. When I was my nephew's ages, is when I was a United fan. Watching United, etc. And I got to see all of that. I watched the Beckham documentary, guys, and I remember a big chunk of it, especially towards his later time at Manchester United. And I just remember when Man United were good. I got to see that for a good 15 or 13 years of my life. I got to see Manchester United being good, winning stuff at top level. And the kids of this generation, not so much. I saw a kid on Twitter the other day who was upset about the Man City loss, the last game, last weekend, and said that he's only seen 12 Man City losses in his time following Manchester City away and at home. And he's been to over 200 Premier League games. Guys, 200 Premier League games, and you've only seen 12 losses. And he was so upset. I was like, damn. Big up, we deserve better, says Mina. As always, you've been amazing. Keep well, and you too. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful Sunday evening. I need to wrap this stream up so I can have my dinner and then get ready for United View as well. Big up, Kenny says Mina, this generation is soft in nature like Rashford and Sancho, man. times have changed. Beckham, Keane, Scholes, Rio, Vidic, real men. You know what, guys? I was watching obviously the Beckham documentary, and I released a video a few days ago talking about, you know, some things I learned from the doc. So if you want to go watch that, it's about an 8-minute video. Make sure you hit the like button on that video. But that was a very interesting part. So after Beckham returned from after the 98 World Cup, so the 98-99 season when Man United obviously went on to win the treble, obviously he was being hounded by fans. He was being hounded by fans at, you know, rival stadiums. Even the players were provoking him, pushing him, all of that stuff. Keane said in the documentary, which really made me think, like, wow, how far have we fallen? He said basically that he told Beckham, like, this is not a thing that you're going through by yourself. And then there's a snippet of Roy Keane pushing players around, squaring up to them, all of that stuff. And he was like, basically, we protect one another. And all I could think of was, wow, if this ever happened in this day and age in Manchester United, Casemiro can't even get involved because that guy's getting sent off. He has to stay out of it. Then who else do we have to have similar attributes like the players listed below? Vidic was a fighter. Keane was a fighter. Rio was a fighter. To me, Paul Scholes was just dripped in elegance. Like, I wouldn't say that he was a fighter, but to me, people were shook of coming anywhere near him because they knew that no matter how close they came to him, that ball was getting to its destination. How far have we fallen? It's pretty sad. What's on the menu for dinner, Mina? I am having some rice and meat, and of course, banana with my salad. You guys know what it is. I have to, of course. But big up to everyone in the chat. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe, man. It's the road to 2K and it's the road to memberships. Like I said, we have memberships coming soon to the channel. Thank you guys always for supporting the channel. I might do a gaming stream later this evening because I'm feeling more up to it. And of course, we're going to have streams throughout the week. We'll have a preview for the Sheffield United game later on in the week, and just a public service announcement from next week. So Man United play next Saturday. We play Sheffield United. I will do a stream, of course, after that game, what we learned, but I will not be doing any streams for about 10 days after that because I'm going to be out of the country and I'm not taking my equipment with me. That's just a personal choice. But make sure you don't unsubscribe in that time because I'll be back. And I'll be missing 2 big games. I'll be missing the Manchester United versus Copenhagen game, and I'm actually back the day after the Manchester derby. So, of course, I might watch the game, and I'll definitely do a stream once I return regarding the Manchester derby and anything that's happened while I've been gone. And then we'll be back for all our regular streams after that. But there'll be a lot of content coming this week. Of course, if you lot are into gaming, Spider-Man is out on Friday. I've set up my Twitch channel because I think I'm going to stream it on Twitch because I'm going to get the game, of course. However, if you don't want me to stream Spider-Man on my YouTube channel instead, let me know because Man United is kind of going, yeah, at least we still got gaming. Big up to everyone as always. Make sure you hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. Big up to everyone for sticking around for the stream, man. And at 7 o'clock, we will be live on United View as always for the full view. So make sure you guys come over there. Until next time, guys, man. You don't know what it is. It's your girl, Mina. Peace.